You filed a legal brief in favour of keeping FDA approval. In your judgment, what's next in this legal fight?
So, absolutely. Thank you for having me, first of all. It's great to be here with you covering this important issue. And to reiterate, it's important to note that this fight is far from over. The judge's order in this case places on hold, or essentially stays, FDA's approval of Mifepristone. And furthermore, he stayed that stay for 7 days. As has already been mentioned, the FDA, the government, has already filed its appeal. And so in the next week, before the judge's order essentially could go into effect, we are going to see more court decisions come out, both from the Fifth Circuit, potentially even from the Supreme Court. The fact of the dueling Washington District Court ruling from a court in Washington pretty much guarantees that this is going to end up before the Supreme Court, because it has essentially resulted in what we call a circuit split. The FDA has basically contradictory rulings, one saying you have to stay the approval of Mifepristone, and one saying you can't change anything. You have to keep the status quo and make sure that Mifepristone remains available to pregnant persons throughout the United States. So this clearly sets up a showdown that the Supreme Court is likely going to have to consider sooner rather than later.
There's a sense of déjà vu about this, isn't there? I mean, this comes less than a year after the historic Roe versus Wade decision was overturned, which took away constitutional protection for abortion. I mean, how does all this fall within the wider scope of the women's health debate that the United States is seemingly divided and split over?
Yeah, absolutely. I think most of us, on both sides, I think, understood that the Dobbs ruling was not the end of the matter on either side. First of all, people who are supportive for reproductive justice and access to abortion will continue to fight to reverse Roe or counteract it through state policies as well as federal policies. But also the anti-abortion movement. Dobbs was not the end. Overturning Roe was not the end. They want to eliminate abortion completely, which means that leaving it to the states is not enough for the anti-abortion movement, which is why we are now seeing them attack ways like medication abortion, which many saw as a workaround to the wider, overturn of Roe. We are now seeing state laws trying to criminalize travel, like in Idaho, for abortions. And so fetal personhood is the next step. So this is all a part of the broader playbook of the anti-abortion movement to really crack down on abortion and try to make it so that no one anywhere in the United States can access care.
How does this play out long term? Because, of course, there's an election coming up. I mean, what is your outlook on abortion rights in the U.S. long term?
Absolutely. So I think right now with the Dobbs ruling, a lot is still going to come down to the states. And so state and local elections are going to be so important. We are seeing in the next coming elections, whether it's 2023 or 2024, more states considering putting ballot initiatives on their ballots to enshrine abortion rights. So a lot of it will come down to how the state and local elections play out. But with this ruling from the judge in Texas, adds a new wrinkle at the federal level, and really stresses and shows the importance of who the administration is in power. Obviously, if we had a different administration, they wouldn't be necessarily immediately appealing the ruling or would be more willing to acquiesce to the judge's order here. With the Biden administration, who has come out in strong support of access to abortion, we will see an FDA fighting this to the very end. My hope is that, regardless of the administration, they understand the broader importance of this ruling, that it goes far beyond abortion with respect to undermining the FDA. I'm not hopeful in terms of, a conservative administration that is anti-abortion, whether or not they will continue to fight this. But it's really important that people remember the broader consequences, that this is not just about abortion, and it opens up the litigation floodgates to other to challenge other medications, particularly things like contraceptives, vaccines, which are commonly controversial, gender-affirming care treatments, and many others. It really just it creates a lot of uncertainty and
Professor,
undermining of the FDA process.
Good to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so
Allison
much.
Whelan, Assistant Professor of Law at Georgia State University.